My name is Lisa. I've been married for 3 years and things are going quite well with my husband, Martin. Even after 3 years, I think we're still very much in love. It's a bit odd to say it myself. After graduating from college, I got a job at a supermarket chain that operates 55 stores, mainly in the city center. I was assigned as an assistant buyer for seasoning and processed food products. Starting this job made me realize just how many products are out there in the world. Typically, most people tend to buy items that they are familiar with during their regular shopping trips, so unless they make a conscious effort, they hardly notice other products. A product buyer has to keep an eye out for what's in the world, understand a vast number of products, find the best ones, negotiate prices, and deliver them to the stores. Working as an assistant buyer, my interest in the countless food products and seasonings kept growing. Even within the category of seasoning and processed products, the variety is immense. I can't even imagine how many items there would be if we consider all food categories like dairy, produce, meat, seafood, and deli. One time, I went on a store inspection with a buyer. The purpose was to check the product displays and sales at the store, and to get her first-hand feedback for our purchasing and pricing negotiations. We visited one of our key stores, which boasts a vast sales area and the largest number of items handled. In our company, stores are classified into 3 sizes. In smaller stores, due to space limitations, the range of items is limited to bestsellers. The store I visited had all the items on display for sale. After greeting the store manager, the buyer and I went down to the sales floor. The wide sales floor was filled with a variety of products. The store was bustling with customers, and lively voices echoed through the fresh produce section. While conducting our research, my attention was drawn to a crowd gathered around a particular spot. It was a promotional tasting corner for a seasoning. The promoter, let's call them a food sampler, was skillfully cooking using the seasoning. As she cooked and weaved in catchy sales phrases, a delicious and enticing aroma wafted through the air, drawing in customers from afar. I tried a sample myself and was amazed at how delicious it was. As the samples were quickly snapped up by customers, the stock of the seasoning also significantly decreased. Then, the food sampler started preparing for another round of tasting. When I talked to the food sampler, she told me about her love for cooking and was always happy to make delicious food for others. These words resonated deeply with me. I realized that even if I knew a lot about products, if I couldn't use them effectively, I wouldn't be able to make good recommendations. My interest started to shift towards cooking. However, since my student days, cooking was something I always left to my mom, and I had no skills of my own. So, I decided to learn to cook from the basics. I searched online and heard from others about a popular cooking class and signed up for it. This class not only taught stylish-looking dishes but also provided knowledge and techniques to upgrade everyday meals. I loved this concept. The class was popular, and fortunately, there was a vacancy, and I got in. The cooking class was full of energy with many male participants as well. The instructor would say, "The key is practice and experience. It's important to understand the ingredients well and think about how to make them delicious." The instructor, Natasha, was the owner of this cooking school. She was quite famous in the industry, often appearing on TV shows and being interviewed. How do I decide which seasoning is the best to use? The compatibility of the ingredients is key. Taste it yourself and choose what feels right. It's all about trial and error. I was very interested in the relationship between ingredients, seasonings, and cooking, so I asked Natasha a lot of questions. My enthusiasm was noticeable, and I quickly got closer to the instructor. I often brought new seasonings I learned about at work to the class to get Natasha's opinion. For items she already knew, she gave precise advice. If it was something new to her, we'd cook together and discuss thoroughly how to best bring out its flavor. One day, while trying out new seasonings, a man entered through the door. The instructor, Natasha, called out to him, "Martin, you're coming home today, right? Mom is already waiting, or will it take longer?" I was surprised to learn he was Natasha's nephew, especially since I recognized him from the same cooking class. He chuckled, "I always wondered what you were up to, cooped up in the kitchen after class." Natasha, seizing the opportunity, pulled him in to help. Though he protested, "Mom's waiting." He couldn't refuse Natasha and started putting on an apron. Natasha laughed it off. It's okay to make her wait a bit. But he sighed, Mom's always been intimidated by you. Talking while cooking, I discovered he worked at the same company as me. In the store development department, his job involved selecting new store locations and designing store layouts in collaboration with external architectural firms. Both Natasha and I were astonished at this coincidence. This led to us chatting more often. Since we worked in different departments at the company, we hardly ever met. That's why we ended up meeting up and talking at the cooking class. He shared that Natasha and his mom, Eliza, were two close-knit sisters. However, the sister's mom, who has passed away now, was busy with her own career and couldn't be much involved with the girls. So, Natasha took care of Eliza, often acting like a mother figure. This explained why Eliza still looked up to Natasha. I realized that Natasha's attentive nature towards her students and her straightforward personality might be because of this. One day, after delivering documents to another department as instructed by the buyer, I ran into him in the hallway. I was surprised that we had never met at the company before, and it seems he felt the same way. Even more surprising, he asked me out for dinner with a serious look on his face. He had wanted to ask me out and didn't want to miss this chance. During dinner, we talked about our private lives and work. Even though we worked at the same company, there was so much we didn't know about each other's jobs since our work was completely different. We also talked about Natasha. He had been close to her since childhood. He ended up attending Natasha's cooking class because he was lazing around at home, doing nothing. Natasha told him that a man should at least be able to cook something, or he'd be left behind and might never get married. He confessed, I've been closer to my aunt than my mom since I was little. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I prefer my aunt's straightforward nature. Making a shushing gesture. He shared stories about how his mom couldn't stand up to Natasha. These stories were always shared by Natasha, often heartily, and while tipsy. During meals the three of them, Natasha, Martin and his mom, had together. Eliza, seemingly annoyed but unable to stop her sister, would just give a wry smile. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and he proposed after 6 months. I had fallen in love with him, attracted by his kindness and dependability, and the ease I felt around him. We took the first step towards marriage. Natasha wholeheartedly supported us. I always had a feeling it would come to this. You two are perfect for each other. Be happy, she said, laughing heartily, planning to tell her sister right away. The next step was meeting his family. I was nervous but felt like I knew his mom, Eliza, from all the stories. Eliza was a quiet woman. It helped that I already knew a little about them, but Natasha was like the sun while Eliza seemed more like the moon. You must be Lisa. My sister has told me so much about you. Please take care of Martin. I wondered what Natasha had told her, but knew she wouldn't speak ill of me. We smoothly went through our wedding preparations and got married on a beautiful autumn day. We set up our new home in a location convenient for commuting to work, and our life together was going great. We decided to throw a party at our new place, inviting Natasha and Eliza to celebrate our new beginning. My mother-in-law, Eliza, couldn't attend our housewarming party because of a commitment she couldn't cancel. According to my husband, Martin, she was probably worried about losing her dignity as a MILF if Natasha revealed too much about her. Natasha came with an abundance of delicious dishes she had prepared. Everything she brought looked so delicious, it made my heart leap with joy. She also brought ingredients and invited my husband and I to cook together. This thrilled me as I hadn't cooked with her for a while due to wedding preparations. Natasha teased Martin, saying she wanted to check if his cooking skills hadn't declined, and quickly had him chopping onions. Since we both worked, Martin and I shared household chores. Among them, my husband's cooking was so delicious that it made me feel a bit jealous of his skills. Natasha seemed pleased to see he hadn't lost his touch. The party became quite lively, with a tipsy Natasha sharing new secrets about her and her sister's past. 3 years into our marriage, Martin and I were still very much in love. Soon, I noticed changes in my body. The doctor at the hospital I visited said just one phrase, "Congratulations." There was a new life growing inside me. I immediately told Martin, and he was overjoyed. Although it was still a fetus, I touched my still tiny belly every day, smiling. About a week later, my husband, Martin, made a suggestion to me. Why don't we move in with my mom at her place? As your pregnancy progresses, it's going to get tougher for you, and having mom there would be reassuring. Plus, she's healthy now, but I worry about her living alone. I was surprised by the idea of living with my mill but agreed, as it made sense to do so, and I felt no particular anxiety about it. Natasha was delighted to hear about my pregnancy and assured me she would speak to Eliza about welcoming me kindly. Knowing that Natasha would talk to her about it and made me feel more comfortable and positive about moving in. Our life at Martin's family home began. I sensed Eliza keeping her distance, especially from me. I understood it was challenging to suddenly live with someone new. I was still trying to figure out how to interact with my mother-in-law, Eliza. One day, our relationship started to deteriorate during the preparation of dinner. My husband, Martin, was busy with a project involving the opening of a new store, resulting in his late returns home each day. At a dinner with just Eliza and me, she made a shocking remark. "Your cooking is too inefficient, and the taste is all wrong. I heard from Natasha that you are an excellent student, but it doesn't seem like it at all." I was stunned and could only apologize. Gradually, Eliza's treatment of me grew harsher. She constantly pointed out my shortcomings as Martin's wife and criticized every action. Her criticism was especially severe regarding my cooking. She didn't acknowledge any of my cooking efforts, constantly criticizing them. Her harsh words hit me hard. It seemed like Eliza was unhappy with Natasha's approval of me. I felt that Eliza harbored two strong emotions within her: dissatisfaction with anyone, other than herself, who was the center of her sister's attention, and a rebellious sentiment towards her sister, whom she could never surpass. I couldn't bring myself to tell my husband, Martin, or Natasha about this. I didn't know how to handle the situation. Despite the strained relationship with Eliza, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The stress with Eliza had caused some risks during the pregnancy, but we managed. Martin was ecstatic about our son's birth. And even Eliza seemed happy, temporarily easing her attitude towards me. However, 2 months later, things reverted back, and I found myself enduring her harsh treatment again. When our son turned 3 months old, we planned a baby shower. We decided to hold it at Martin's family home, inviting my parents and Natasha. Martin had to work but promised to be back before it started. When Martin left for work, my mother-in-law, Eliza, said, "It's been a while since my sister came over, so I want to treat her to a feast. Get something luxurious, like steak or anything else. With delivery services being so advanced now, you can get a variety of things." Eliza, who always insists on lavish preparations, said she had errands and would be back in the evening, and then left the house. I pondered over the menu, wanting to impress both Natasha and my parents. Just then, the phone rang. It was Natasha calling. "Sorry to bother you when you're busy. Leave meal preparations to me. I'll be there soon, just wait a little." In less than 30 minutes, Natasha arrived, with her arms full of bags, and she greeted me with a smile, saying, "Sorry to keep you waiting." She brought a variety of delicious-looking side dishes. "I've prepared a lot, but let's put the finishing touches on the dishes together," she suggested. "It's been a while since I last got to cook with Natasha." She said, "This baby shower is about the family coming together to celebrate, so homemade dishes are better than fancy store-bought ones." I was having so much fun cooking with Natasha that I inadvertently vented about the treatment I was receiving from Eliza. Her face clouded over. "Why didn't you tell me sooner that my sister was behaving this way?" When I admitted I hadn't even told Martin, she said understandingly but firmly that keeping silent wouldn't solve anything. Soon, the table was filled with delicious homemade dishes Natasha and I had prepared together. As Natasha stepped out to the bathroom, Eliza returned home. "What is all this, Lisa?" Seeing the food, she burst out in anger. I asked for something lavish. "What's this? It looks so cheap. Your cooking is inedible. Are you trying to make a fool of my sister?" I was stunned by her misunderstanding and couldn't explain. Then, my mother-in-law, Eliza, became even more furious, hurling a stream of insults. She even threw the food into the trash can. I couldn't believe what was happening right in front of my eyes and was unable to utter a single word. Eliza, her face turning bright red with agitation and breathing heavily, was suddenly interrupted when the door behind her opened. Natasha reappeared, angry. Eliza, criticizing my food is one thing, but disrespecting food like this is unacceptable. Eliza, shocked by her sister's sudden appearance and realizing her mistake, turned pale. And the things you said to Lisa just now, you were really mistreating your daughter-in-law. Eliza could only stutter in response, visibly shaken. Just then, Martin and my parents returned, unaware of the situation, and were shocked by the tense atmosphere. What followed was difficult. Natasha lectured Eliza relentlessly, leaving us all unable to intervene. Sadly, the celebration ended in disarray. Afterwards, on Natasha's suggestion, Martin and I decided to stop living with Eliza. Learning about the situation for the first time, Martin was furious and declared a severance of ties with his mother. Eliza went back to living alone. Natasha, determined to correct her sister's ways, assigned her to train in her cooking school, focusing more on improving her interpersonal skills than her cooking skills. Despite being cut off, Eliza still called Martin, lamenting her current situation. This experience reinforced the importance of understanding and empathy towards others and the dangers of jumping to conclusions. I resolved to cook delicious meals for my son, to ensure that there is enough food on the table, and to raise him to be a thoughtful and considerate man.